Good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time of day it is to everybody out there. This is the green team of the Legendarium. We are doing the Licanius trilogy. This is the second half of book one, The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. And today I'm Soul, and I have with me Kip,
Ayo.
Mirlyah,
Hello.
and finally Yettibeats. All right. So let's just jump into some spoiler-free impressions because I don't want to get into the recap. I want to just make sure everybody's good with that first. And then we just jump right into spoilers. But first off, Kip, what did you think about this back half of the book?
I thought it was really, really fast. I thought that it was fun, serviceable, but ultimately went perhaps a little too fast for me.
I can see that. Yeah, they kept up the pace in the beginning of the book was a reveal after reveal, and they surprisingly continued that until the end of the book. Yeah. Mirlia, what about you? What'd you think?
I really enjoyed the second half. Again, I actually enjoyed the fast pace of it because it just made you want to keep reading because you know that something is going to happen in the next chapter that's big and it's not just filler.
That's true. I think there were two chapters in this entire back end that I was like, oh, nothing really happened there. And not that nothing really happened, we just prolonged whatever was happening in that first chapter by another chapter without a POV shift. All right, so Yeti, what did you think? Any impressions?
Yeah, I thought I'm kind of similar to both Kip and Mirlyah. I thought there was just highs and lows, like things I just really liked, but then there's just things that were pretty glaring. Where I'm like, man, he needs to work on not like character work. I guess I'll just be specific without spoilers. But there were some moments where I was just like, I like there's a lot of reveals. So that was the highs, like as Mirlyah was saying, and Kip, where we move past and like a new things popping up where it's like, oh man, so this is another twist into the story or into that character's background or whatever. And then there's just things where like you're spending time with two characters, and I'm like, I'm not buying this. It's kind of dragging and making this character less interesting. You know what I mean? So there's a little
There were
bit of that.
definitely
Yeah, moments. I know,
definitely several characters that got less interesting.
yeah. So like I felt like I kind of had these. It was like a wave up and down. Where I'm like, oh yes, I remember this. This he really builds up to this nicely and leaves you at the cliffhanger of a chapter. And then it moves on to someone else. And I always like those kind of fast-paced, enjoyable stories. But then mixed in with some stuff where I'm like, man, because I remember I posted in one of my reviews when I first read this series that I like this. I like the characters in this better than Wheel of Time because they're just much better characters and well written. And now, actually, I still stand by that, but that's more against Wheel of Time. But I feel less confident about that now. I'm kind of like so. Overall, like overall, I'm still a big fan. I like the series, but I a little more problematic.
I mean, I would definitely agree that in Wheel of Time there are characters I find more annoying, but that's not because of Robert Jordan's writing. Well, I mean, I guess it
I
technically
mean,
is,
it's
but
all
yeah, no, I find there's nothing that really grates on me in this book, like a few characters in Wheel of Time. I still like Wheel of Time,
they're not
just to
around
throw
long
that out there.
enough.
Yes, that's true. This 600-page book felt like 400 pages. It felt
Yep.
very fast, and we packed so much stuff into this. I did like it. Actually, I liked it a lot. I guess the best thing for me was the imagery that he continued to do. There were a few scenes that I really enjoyed how he described them and other entities that we'll get into in the spoiler chats. I think I may just be crazy because I mentioned some of that stuff in the spoiler chat and people tell me like I was crazy. So we'll see if that was an accurate memory for myself or maybe I just made something up in my head. But either way, I had a good time with it and definitely want to continue reading. And I'm glad we are doing this recording so we can start reading the next book tomorrow when I wake up. Okay, so did anybody have any last thoughts before we jump into the recap and go to the spoiler section of this podcast?
I just realized I never gave a number rating to how I
Ooh,
felt about this book, and I think like 3.5 out of 5.
I'm kind of surprised you went that high. I thought you'd give it a 3. So, wow. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Wasn't a
It,
3 Yeti's prediction?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeti,
for
did you have? He had for the whole
2.5.
series.
Yeah, whole series. Still
He
pretty
did
good.
two. Yeah, that's true. We'll check in with Kip on the Yeti prediction scale by
look,
the end.
this is all preliminary until I read the conclusion.
That's
Exactly.
fair. But as a not a standalone, but as a book one, this gets a 3.5
Because
from
this
Kip.
book is very clearly not a standalone.
No, it's not. No, there's
Yeah,
so much going on.
it's the least standalone book I've ever read.
Mirlyah, what do you think? Do you want to give us a quick rating?
I gave it a 5-star.
Ooh,
I love it.
okay.
Because it just because of the fact that it was fast paced, but it's still considered an epic fantasy. I
Yeah,
felt like you just kept like it unlike some of the other epic fantasies where you kind of just like, okay, well that chapter was just filler. And even though this book in my hand is 700 pages, it didn't feel like it, like you said, it didn't feel like a 700-page book because of the fact that it was so fast paced and things kept happening. But yet there were enough breadcrumbs to keep us guessing and speculating about what's going to happen. But then you get so many reveals on the way, it doesn't leave you guessing for very long.
No, it
yeah,
doesn't. Like a chapter or two ahead.
yeah. You're really guessing. Yeah, what's going to happen in the next 50 pages? That's about it. After that, it's an about phase. I think once I read this series, if I go back, I'll be able to tell. I feel like this book doesn't have a lot of things that the author threw in just for rereaders. I feel like some epic fantasies throw in a lot of extra stuff. You're like, okay, these are for the people that kind of read this 3 or 4 times. I feel like this is more like he threw in some hints, and if you didn't catch them, cool. But if not, it didn't take that long to get through any of that. Um, it did make it fast paced.
Yeah.
I guess I was gonna go with like 4.5. I almost went 4, but I feel like that's just because I had to pace myself. So that's not how I normally read these books, and I forced myself to stop and just do a little bit every day. And I had a tough couple weeks at work, so uh, my mood was affected for this. But I definitely think this is almost a 5-star for me. All right, Yeti, we're not going to ask you your rating because we don't want to be
I
tarnished
think
by
I
what
gave
you're thinking.
it 5. I think I gave it 5 stars when I first read it. Pretty
Did
sure.
you your
When
first one? Okay.
yeah, I had like 10 predictions. They all were miserably wrong after the first book. None of them were right. So it was you know, but I had fun.
That's all right. Good. I'm glad you had fun, and hopefully you're having fun again.
The
Okay,
best.
the best. All right, here we go. We're gonna go with a recap. So we start off with Asha gets captured, and then she gets rescued. Davian finds out he died and uses Khan, which is the augur powers of essence, kind of like that. It's like the anti-essence. We get into more of that a little bit later. Devin finishes his training montage by peeking into Malshash's tragic memory of finding his newlywed bride murdered, and then he proceeds to murder the town to bring her back. Then Wur and the gang arrive at Ilan Ilan. There's a family reunion for Wur. Caden arrives, gets locked up, then shackled, then escapes, and then he meets the princess and hangs out with her. Davian meets the Signari on his way back to Ilan Ilan. He gets there and then he gets interrogated, or sorry, he interrogates Tenvar and leaves him comatose and finds out some interesting information. Caden Leroy Jenkins his way into the vortex portal from the vessel. And then the North Warden dies so that Wur can change the tenants. And then Aaron immediately reveals that he had been controlling the North Warden, and the North Warden didn't want to die. And Aaron is the real reason that Wur liked his father the past few years, and is why Wur can change the tenants now. And then Davian is the one who actually helps Wur change the tenants. Caden cluelessly acquires Licanius from a strange volcanic being, and then Caden saves the day with Licanius. Then he bounces, he leaves. Davian leaves too, and then Caden learns he is Arcane Deviad. I'm not sure how you say that, but he's the evil bad guy. And that is book one. That's just the second half of book one. So that was a lot to get through. That was so many reveals. Okay, so I guess the first thing I want to talk about is plot. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about the plot itself? Any specific points regarding all these reveals? Mirlyah, how about you? Anything?
I have written down basically the number of people that were controlled. So we had Aaron controlling Elocian and presumably Ionis controlling the king.
Yeah, I think that was hinted. Yeah,
Presumably, possibly.
It wasn't confirmed, but it kind of fit, I
and then
think,
Malchus also was controlling Davian,
controlling Davian.
and then
And Talcamar was controlling himself.
yeah, that's
and
the Dragon
Davian was
Reborn.
controlling
Yeah.
Taris.
Yes.
Oh, you're right.
Well, yeah.
And then he also technically didn't he control? No, he just erased the dude's memory. The one bounty hunter or whatever
Yep.
smuggler, the smuggler guy. Yeah. Okay. So lots of mind controlling going on. Um,
Did you like, specifically with Velocia, were you guys shocked by that? Because Kip had a few predictions with that, and he was like, "Oh, this doesn't make sense that he just loves his son after all this. Like he's such a change." It was hard to keep my mouth shut to be like, "Yeah,
I
he's
was like,
literally being
oh,
controlled by
this is
an
what Dave
auger."
was talking about.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was
This
like, it does
I
make
think it was
sense
a cool
actually.
reveal.
Yeah, once you have that.
I
No.
wasn't expecting it at all, to be honest.
I wasn't either, but I did enjoy how it was presented, and especially it was after you watched North Warden die and how Aaron lost the control, and you got to see the real North Warden who hated his son and did not want to change the tenants and was like, "No, please save me." That
Yeah.
was insane.
That was a little bit of a shock.
That was a good scene. I really like that a
The
lot.
death scene, well, it was kind of horrific. It was kind of reminded me of I was going to do an Avengers and Infinity War spoilers, but as someone who says I don't feel so good, but it was kind of like at that panic moment when someone's uh, last seconds. I thought that was good, but I thought that was a good job by the author writing that little by little like clues throughout the story where you're like Kip was saying like this doesn't make sense. Everyone's saying he would have murdered his son if he found out
Right.
he had these powers and things like that. You're
Yep.
like he keeps bringing this up, how this guy's past and how different he was. And he says, well, he had a change of heart because it happened to his son now. That's why he's changed man. But like, it was just funny listening to Kip last episode where he's like, it just didn't click. You're like, I just don't buy that would happen like that. Unless, of course, he was. I'm a little dubious with Aaron, how powerful he is. I mean, he's doing a lot of. No one would question that this kid's. I don't know, but it works for me overall.
I think
Yeah.
Ionis was figuring out that Elocian was controlled.
Yeah. But that's probably because Ionis was controlling someone else, so he knew the signs to look out for.
Mhm.
But it's not clear to me how Ionis was controlling the king. It might be through Khan, but it might also be just through the fourth tenet if the king was secretly gifted.
Maybe. Honestly, I didn't pay attention too much to that. I was just so excited about the North Warden part. Sorry.
And I've generally forgot who is controlling him, or if he's being controlled. It makes sense
Yeah,
that he is.
I don't think the books have so far told us who.
Okay.
They've given us thoughts, and it
Yeah.
could be Ionis. It could be that other dude, Dras Lothlar, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Who's the
Could be
guy that
him, too.
confronted? Who's the guy that
Well-
confronted Where that was that Ironis?
That was
Who like
Dras.
confronted him about that was Dras, who said he knew where he was, kind of.
I think that was
Yeah.
the Lothar guy.
Lothar.
Yeah, because he was on the trip and saw him as Weir, and then saw him as Torin.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Whereas Ionis is the one who died at the same time that they changed the tenant, so that was kind of why it was like, well, maybe.
Yes.
I think we'll know
Ionis
more.
dying
Yeah.
removed the control.
Or
yeah,
the removal of the
said
fourth
Or
tenet.
removed the tenant.
Yeah, because they said the king was feeling better after
Or just Dras being sneaky.
that.
Yeah, it could be too. I wouldn't put it past them being like, all right, this is a good time to pretend.
Let it go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got what I wanted.
All right. Kip, did you have any other writing or plot stuff you want to talk about?
All my theorizing went out the window when shape changing was entered as not just something that one person has, but something that anyone can have.
Yeah. I think that just puts a real harsh damper on a lot of theories.
Yeah, you just can't make a whole bunch of theories without confirmation that no, it's actually this person
But now we can get
in the
even more
scene.
crazy with it if you
But
think
it's
about
also
it.
because you can only shapeshift into someone who's dead.
Yeah, but this is also a series with time travel, so
Yeah,
how
time
does
travel.
that work?
Yep. You can shapeshift if he's dead in the future and then come back. Definitely.
If Davian goes like 1,000 years in the future, can he have access to everyone who is dead and then come back?
I mean, I guess you think that because he tried to shapeshift into Were and then ended up in
Turning into some
presumably
evil-looking dude.
But Were wasn't born in the timeline that he tried to do that.
Yeah, Where hadn't even been born.
So I want to see when Davian goes in the future, can he shape change into anybody that he knew from the past? That's what I need to know. And if that is a yes, which I'm assuming it is, because that opens up a whole bunch of extra plot reveal stuff for James that I think he wants to get into.
Did they
Can go wild.
specify that the person had to have known the other person?
Yes, I think Malshash did say you have to know them and they have to be dead. That's what I think. Those were the two
I
clear
mean,
things for
it makes
shape-changing.
sense.
Yeah, how would you know?
Because I guess that raises the question of who was it that Davian knew at that point in his life.
I think
So
maybe if you don't know someone, you change into either like someone that you've previously shapeshifted into, or someone in that person's like genetic tree.
well, I think it's the genetic tree, but I think it's actually because whoever this person was at that time, that's what they look like then. So 100 years ago,
Yep.
maybe inside Wer's family tree, that person was alive and was the reason that Davian is the way he is and died. That's what I'm thinking. It's very convoluted, but that's what I was like, all right, that's what I'm thinking. If if Davian actually knew this guy, it had to be when he was dying before he became an augur.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know much about Davian before he met up with Terrace and
Nope.
killed a whole bunch of people by controlling them.
Yeah.
We know he
Who
worked
do we
in the
know
kitchens.
who can shapeshift? We just know Malshash and Davian.
Potentially any augur.
And
Yeah, any
Talcamar.
augur
Talcamar
has the
can.
potential. Yeah, potential. Yeah. So we're not ruling anybody out. I know you're trying to trick us, Yeti. Get out of here with that.
Just asking
Okay.
a question.
I'm suspicious of everyone. Okay. Yeti, do you have any writing or plot points you want to get into? I have something if you don't.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a few, but I'll start with this one because, and Kip kind of touched on it just then, and it's the biggest thing that happened in the book, in my opinion. It's what pushed this book from a 4-star to a 5-star. It's what made me want to immediately read the next book and everything afterwards. It's finding out, or according to the end of this book, that Caden is the evil lord. It's like finding out if Rand was the evil lord, or finding out Harry Potter was Voldemort. I mean, I was like, what? When that happened, I was like, I was like, what's going on? And just the way they explain, and the way that he find out is getting back into the last memory where he slaughtered all those children and the farmers or that little town, and just the
Yeah.
overcoming of grief. Because I mean, the central question for him has been, who is he? And not like who he, like what's his name, but like what kind of person is he? Like what's his values? Is he a good guy? Is he, and to that, there's kind of, it's dramatic for himself to find that. I mean, that's the ending chapter. The last scene we read is him grieving for himself, practically on his knees. After that, I was just like, this series could go in any direction, and I have no idea, where it could go. It kind of opened up the abilities, and that's why I always specify, going into this, whenever I recommend series, I say there's one character in particular who I think this series is worth reading because of them. Whether it pays off or think whatever else. By the end, I was like, you will not regret reading their journey. And I think that was the start of it for me. So yeah, that final revelation, I was like, oh boy, now we're cooking. Did you guys feel the same way, or did you kind of get inklings that you're like, this might have, be the thing?
Okay. So I did get an inkling, and it was from the Fable Storytale Myth book that Davian was reading.
About that. Love that.
And I was like, okay, so I really liked that story because there wasn't like a clear, oh, this is what you're supposed to learn. And I felt like that was definitely to the readers, not to the characters in the book. Those were hints for the rest of the series. And then seeing that, Caden is the big bad. I like that.
Big
I thought it
bad
was
is a strong word.
well. That's what I like
You
is that there's not really big bad. That's just one of his personas throughout the eons of time that this dude has lived. He was bad for a time, and he was known as this when he was the bad guy. He was good
I
for
guess
a
I mean
time, and he was known
in
as this.
in the story, the characters believe Arcane Devade is the big bad. And so
Exactly,
he's
but
find out he yeah.
it's just a name. It's one of his many personas that he's adapted his personality to when he's lived for thousands of years.
It is
The
so
thing that
hard not to think of Wheel of Time.
I know.
Yeah, that's fair.
the thing that got me about that reveal was the prologue, where Talcumar says to whoever it is that he's talking to, the unknown entity, "You are wrong. This time I go where Arcane Devade cannot follow." And I'm like, is he like split personality?
Yeah, I think there's
I mean,
some
kinda, yeah.
stuff going on. Well, because Caden still has his memories. That's one of the things I really liked about this is that we didn't lose Caden as a character. I assumed when Talcumar came out of Caden and it's now Talcumar the character, that we would lose Caden and Caden would just be this like, oh, these are my memories of being Caden, but I'm Talcumar and this is me. No, this is still Caden with a little bit of Talcumar influence, which is I thought was fun, and I think that's a
Well,
better way to.
I mean, he's technically not. Well, he's Caden because he's wearing the body of Caden, but he's still Talcumar.
Right, but
Well,
I thought his mind was
his
shifting.
memories are still mostly Caden.
That's what I
He
like.
just has the one memory that's come back to him.
Well, I mean,
and
his
all of his
memory.
procedural magical stuff.
I guess what you're saying because he doesn't have any memories.
Well, he does
He's,
after.
well, but I mean, that's all the memories of the journey that he creates, wearing the
Yeah.
body of Caden. But that's not necessarily Caden's memories because Caden is this young boy who he killed.
I don't know
Right.
if Caden is anybody. Like,
Yeah, I
what, do we
think
know that
Caden
was
is
the boy's
Caden.
name?
Yeah, that was the boy's name because
Yeah,
the
was
it
mum
the boy's
came
name?
in and
Okay.
called Caden.
I mean, he's still Caden. He's still a different Caden, but he's still Caden.
I'm with Kip. I don't think I apologize if I meant the farm boy before we met him. I meant Caden, the one that we know as readers on this journey. That Caden.
Yeah.
That's the Caden that I think is staying and will be adapting with Talcumar's memories, but still going to be the prominent personality for at least a
So
little while.
I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm going to ask you guys: what do you know about Talcumar? Can he die?
No, I don't think he can die.
No, or I mean,
He's
I
been alive
guess
for like
they could
thousands of
die.
years.
Right,
Yeah.
but they say like one of his friends said, "Oh, you're in this body this time. You chose this body or whatever." So does that mean he dies, but he just returns again? But does he usually have his memories, or this time he erased his memories? Because I was trying to think like, yeah,
I think it said he erased his memories specifically this time in person or like on purpose,
right.
Yeah.
so that Caden wouldn't be influenced by his memories, and Caden could do what he needed to be done so he can get the sword without that knowledge quote that would
Yes.
hamper him getting the sword.
Because I see it as more like he keeps living these lives, but he always tries to do better this life or this life, and then whether he diverts into more of an arcane deed side, way, and he turns evil, or if he goes into more of a Talcumar way. But it's always warring into one or two directions. It's my interpretation. I'm not. Again, I forget everything about these series, so
Okay.
it's not like
I think there was a point where he was Talcumar, and like that was a bright name, and then he got into this contract with a more evil character who we still haven't really met yet, and with that contract has now not necessarily permanently, but has until Resurrection as Caden been evil.
the second book. We'll open it up
Okay.
more about just people in his life. I'll just say people in his life. How
I have questions about the number of times Talcumar has time traveled back to the same timeline, because he clearly has, because he's influenced various people in various points in this timeline,
Yeah.
like with Brashada mentioning Talcumar way back at the start of the book.
Yep.
Forgot how little we got for shot of this book. Man.
Yeah.
Don't worry, guys. Don't worry.
Barely there.
What the heck?
Okay, good. I was getting worried.
Yeah, no.
No, I think timeline. If anybody's gonna go nuts, it's gonna be I think Davian's gonna go nuts with the timeline, and then Kalkamar is also gonna go nuts with the timeline. We're gonna have these two massive influences all over the place.
Yeah.
Seems
I mean,
like
it sounds
Davian
like,
was being bound when he did one of those time jumps.
yeah.
And so I wonder if there's like a higher authority or a more powerful being which can force
Yeah,
either itself or Davian to do these jumps.
yeah. The like '80s retro vintage entity or corporation that's like in Loki from the Disney show. That's what I'm picturing. Was it the TCL or whatever it's called? I don't
You
remember
see,
what it is.
I mean, it
Yeah.
seems like Talcumar time traveled back to this spot just so that he could stop himself.
This time travels. Throw me off. Okay.
with the time travel and the shape changing, there's really an end to certain levels of theorizing, and I'm not a huge fan of that.
I kind of am because I've not had this discussion before. I've never had this kind of a discussion in a fantasy book ever with this much predictions and stuff going on. So I do like that part. That's fun.
Well, that's the thing. Like we were all predicting, like Alosian's gonna die. Alosian's gonna die. But when's it gonna happen? Turns out this book.
Yeah. Just 200 pages. Just wait 200 pages patiently and you get there and it
Well,
happens.
yeah.
But
Um,
the
you said
implications.
something, Kip. I forget what it was. Like it was like in chapter 50 or 51, and it was like the next. You would have found out the answer in like 3 more pages. I was just like
Yeah.
reading, find
I was like,
out.
oh, I'm just like a little bit ahead of the characters. Fine.
Mhm. But that made it fast, and I did like that. I don't know. It made me feel smart, which is tough for a novel to do. Okay.
There was a point where Asha was trying to hide what she was doing, and I was like, well, this is obvious. like she was like, she was rushing to the palace, I think, and she was trying not to think of some bad thing, and I was like, well, we know what that is. Come on, come on.
Oh, after Lucian died, she was going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah. What about you, Soul? Did you have a big plot point?
Well, I like the Caden thing. That was pretty much what I wanted to talk about, so that was a good segue while I got my input in there already. I do have something I want to talk to before we get into the favorites and the least favorite scenes. Now, I'll start off by saying I read a lot of web serials. I don't read a lot of web serials. I've read like 3 web serials that have millions of words in them, so it feels like I've read a lot of them. But in one of them, it's very popular. It's called Worm. It has a very good use of a magic system for superpowers in the modern day. And one of the theories that's in the book, and it's called the Manton effect. Now, in this world with superpowers, you have different classifications, all this stuff. And the way the author uses the Manton effect, which is in universe, it's called the Manton effect, is powers can or cannot affect people. So let's say somebody can light things on fire. Can they light a person on fire? No. Or they can if they believe so with the Manton effect. So another entity is like, let's say Kip wanted to um, turn people into or turn objects into paper. He can turn a rock into paper. Can he turn me into paper when he snaps his fingers? That's the Manson effect. Does Kip believe he can turn me into paper? No, because he thinks I'm a person and he thinks of me as a person, so he can't do that.
You might want to use
S-
someone else for an example.
okay, fine. Mirlyah's turning me into a piece of paper.
Yeah,
If
Mirlyah believes in
Mirlyah does
people.
this, yeah, she believes in people. Now,
I might not like people very much, but I believe
right,
in them.
but she believes I'm a person. But let's say Kip really doesn't believe I'm a person and he has the same power. He could actually turn me into paper. That's the Manson effect. It's based on the user of magic's belief affecting how they can actually control it inside the world. So I wanted to bring this up because the way essence and con and all that stuff is being used and the tenets themselves and their interpretations of the law. Throughout this entire book, we've gotten a lot of people saying, oh, but if we interpret it this way, do you think we could fudge these rules? And I kept thinking of the Manton effect because based on the user that is doing it, if they truly believe that this is what it is, then they're within the rights of their tenants. I think that's going to play a part in this novel. and I wanted to
I
get your
mean,
opinions on that.
we've already
I
seen it with Ionis.
Okay.
I thought because there was a chapter where we're clearly believed that people were people who then ended up not being people because they were echoes.
hmm
And he used magic on them,
Yes, but because
but
they
he
thought they
thought
were
that they were
dead.
people.
Yeah. Well, they said
So that,
they didn't have heartbeats, I think, or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but they believed them to be dead. They weren't people anymore, so they were able to use the magic on them.
but if the people thought that those echoes were people, they wouldn't have been able to use magic.
That's my
I-
opinion of it. Yeah.
I think that one works differently in this universe because Weir used it as proof that they weren't people.
Right, but I think it's because he believed they weren't people anymore.
I think Weir thinks that if they were actually people, even if he believed they weren't, he wouldn't have been able to use magic.
Okay. I disagree, but I wanted to bring this up because I was curious what you guys thought about it. Mostly you two. Like, I don't really want to ask Yeti because, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. He might be able to spoil it, but I don't want to put him in that position.
Yeah.
I don't
I'll
want to
let
do
you
that.
guys go off on magic talk.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think the series has given us a like a definitive answer, and it's not going to help us with that because most of the people who could give definitive answers are wrong about things a lot and don't have the best intentions because they lie a lot too.
That's fair. Yeah, they all have motives that they want to see get done, and will do anything to get there.
Yeah. But we definitely saw
yeah.
the like you cannot harm the gifted tenet being severely warped by Administrator Ionis
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
into like I'm not harming them by killing them.
hmm Yeah, it's a lot of interesting stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah. Okay. Well, that
I'm
pretty much wraps up my plot and writing stuff that I wanted to mention. Did anybody else have anything else before we jump into scenes, favorite scenes, least favorite scenes, things like that?
Just a real quick shout out or about a plot point. I did like the kind of Davian finding out that Terrace has kind of been more involved in his life than it's probably a normal stranger. Uh, it made Terrace more interesting to me. Compared to his typical kind of shady old fighter or whatever stereotype. And I know
Like Tom
it was kind
Maryland?
of yeah. I know he was just. It might be just to get Davian to push to like not trust him anymore and push away from him and go off on his own thing. But it is interesting that this dude has been following Davian for. Does that mean he thinks he's a chosen one, or he has, So I thought that was kind of interesting, and it kind of leads into the last scene with him, that one guy when Asha was kind of eavesdropping on them. Just made it's just hard to know whether to trust Terrace or not. He just never keeps tells the truth. It seems like so.
I mean, I like that. I like that we can't trust everyone. If everybody was just clear about their motives,
Yeah, of course.
I feel like that'd get a little boring. I like Terrace.
Maybe
Yeah.
Terrace wouldn't be slicing his face open. Maybe.
Just a little bit. I think he'd be getting psychiatric help and probably staying as far away from Davian as possible.
I find that interesting that it sounds like Davian's still controlling Terrace to the point that Terrace has to fight the urge to slice his face open.
For years. Yeah.
But then
unconsciously.
how is he resisted to it when all of the other people who are in the bar at the same time died?
Well, Terrace has a reserve.
Yeah. He's the only gifted.
True.
He can heal himself.
Yes, yeah.
And by the time his reserve ran out, Davian was unconscious.
Yeah.
Key for him.
Now there's just
But
been this residual control.
Yeah, interesting that the residual control is still there. Which I would be interested to know what happened when Davian went back to the past. Was Terrace free until he came back?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I think they mentioned that, and then
They mentioned it a couple times.
When Davian came back, he felt that in his mind again. That urge.
And he cut himself again.
Yeah.
Do scar.
Yeah.
Those urges are probably going to kill him. What do you guys think?
No, I don't think it's gonna kill him. I don't think slicing your face open for years is gonna kill this guy. I think something else is gonna kill him, and they want us to think that Davian's gonna kill him. Yeah. No, I think he's gonna die either the awfully heroic route of like trying to save Davian for some reason, or maybe he's arcane divided too, and
You do
definitely
wonder
gonna
how
be.
many people in this universe are just time traveling Davian.
Poor
You
Takuma.
got to think the number's at least 5, at least. So, all right. I want to get into least favorite scenes first for this one. So bear with me. I'm gonna cut in line because I'm the host and I can do whatever I want. And I'm gonna talk about Asha getting captured, how we started this one, and then
Oh
she.
God.
Okay, so she got captured, and they sped through it really quick, and it was very annoying to me. I just didn't like that. And then also it was just like, oh, here's a chapter break, and then we're doing this chapter break, and then it's like, oh, and then we're getting rescued. And I was like, all right, so she got captured. It was like at least a week, and then I think she got rescued, and all of that was in the same chapter, and it was over like a week and a half of time period. I didn't really like that. That was probably my least favorite scene. Uh, what did you guys think about that? I'm curious on Kip's thought, especially.
It was bold of them to do that. Very bold of them to say this person's getting special treatment. Let's kidnap her.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't like that. What about you, Yeti? Thoughts on Asha getting captured?
Yeah, I mean, I still stand by her. Her storyline's kind of just the least interesting to me this whole book. Not her in general, but just the storyline. So everything with her getting her getting kidnapped to using them being her weapon to using what are the items they use that help when the
Vessels.
war vessels. Thank you.
Vessels.
Yeah, that negotiating tactic where hey we can use the vessels. I just don't care compared to other stuff, and I'm hoping at the end it seems like she's gonna have to kind of be since her the one guy she was like a tutor under Michael or whatever got killed randomly. You
Yeah,
just didn't see it happen. He's just dead, and now she's gonna be buddied up with Terrace. It seems like I'm hoping it's just kind of two characters together are going to make them both more interesting and storyline wise, more prevalent to the story too. Other than her obviously is running into Avian. I mean, that was the apex of her
Yep.
scenes so far in the
yeah.
book.
Yep, it was.
So yeah, that's a good least favorite scene choice for me too. Didn't do much for me.
Okay. All right. Mirlyah, you got any least favorite scenes? What are you thinking?
My least favorite scenes are more just me being frustrated with the way that the characters are acting because they're juvenile boys and boys being boys, not listening to what they've been told. So with
It's zero patience.
basically, so it's both Were and Davian with Were just not listening to the warnings about helping the family because he's just like, no, they're people, we have to help them. We
Ah,
can't just leave them here, and then like almost kill him.
my eyes rolled back in my head pretty far on that one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And Davian thinking that he wants to take his training with Malshash to the next level and doesn't listen to him about the dangers of shapeshifting, and then decides that he wants to break Malshash's memory box, like locked box open, just
Yeah, that was
just
under
just
control.
just because, you know.
That was under control.
He likes a challenge.
Well,
He was his
he
mind wasn't
wasn't
his
told
own.
to. He wasn't
No, he
told
was told to
Oh.
learn as quickly as he could.
Yeah, the memory one doesn't bother me. The immediately shape shifting as soon as the guy told him no, like as soon as he left the room, he was like, I'm gonna try it anyways. And then he learned his lesson. I was like, that's on you, Doug. Sorry, what
Well,
was it?
wouldn't you? I mean, come on, you get to shapeshift. How awesome is that?
But the memory one, I think that one I liked going into Melshash's mind, so I gave it a pass because
Yeah, I mean that memory I've actually put as one of my favorite scenes, but the
Mhm.
lead up to it, and I
Agreed.
felt like he'd been told to do a certain task and to learn as fast as he can, but it was like his thoughts just went well, Malshash is keeping something from me, so I want to know what that is.
Yeah.
And so he just breaks into his memories.
Davian's understanding of consent is bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like you said, he was being controlled, but yeah, he still decided to just be like, I'm gonna test my powers out right now. Let's see, just go in this box real quick. Yeah.
I think Islington did a good job of like planting seed that he was controlled. It was just like at the end when he finds out, he's like, "Oh yeah, I've only been sleeping 2 hours a night, and I've been pushing myself hard." It's like I wish he would have like put little clues in there throughout before he found out to be like, "Why is Davian never sleeping?" Unless he did and I missed it. But it
Well, he
just
did
seemed
mention,
like
He did mention
yeah,
that like
he
things were
did.
going odd. Yeah.
And food,
And
like he wasn't like as hungry as much and like
yep.
stuff like that. There were some hints in
right.
there. So I bought it, at
And,
least on that.
and also
Okay,
he
good.
wasn't thinking like Davian.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Right.
true.
That's fair.
But that's one of my favorite scenes is the training montage. That all right, I'll admit it. I read some not
Is
well
that a
written
scene?
books. I consider it a scene. It's a
Okay.
series. It's a little mini arc. Okay. I like training montages. I like progression fantasy. That's an entire subgenre of books that I specifically read to get that in my daily life occasionally. So to get this in a time traveling fantasy book that's basically Wheel of Time was nice and I
Mhm.
enjoyed it. So that's probably my favorite scene. Yeah, but we're not here to talk about favorite scenes. We're here to talk about least
Yeah, I was
favorite
like,
scenes.
yeah,
Okay, let's
Okay.
go.
stamp that down.
I'll give my least favorite scene. I did not like the Battle of the Shields.
Was that the battle at the end?
Yeah, at the like gates of Fedris Idra.
Yeah,
Um,
well, that's my
the
answer
the
too.
the shields
Definitely.
that the builders made. I thought it went very quickly. It
Yeah,
seemed like no one knew what they were doing except the blind. Uh, and what else? Oh, just the retreat sequence didn't really seem to make any sort of tactical or physically possible sense.
yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I bought it.
The blind are quite faster than everybody else, and yet they have time to retreat through 3 separate like shields.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're kind of like Lord of the Rings, where you have Minas Tirith or whatever it's called, where
Yeah.
they have
Oh,
like
and essence doesn't touch them, but you can use indirect essence to kind of hurt them before the tenets. Except it was made very clear that none of our characters had any hope of hurting the blind, even with large amounts of magical power, before the tenets changed.
yeah, because they made that clear with the scales of the dragon
But the
dude that they
vessels
found
did.
earlier.
The vessels seemed to have actual effect on them, or at
I
least
know
delaying effect.
that one I was confused about.
I
Yeah,
was confused about that.
yeah. I mean, I gave it a pass because we got to see cool swords and volcano and like all kinds of stuff. But I'll admit, I kind of skimmed when I got to the shield battle. I was like, all right, this is getting a little weird. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I go as far to say I don't think the author is just good at battle scenes. It's like big battle scenes. I think
No, I don't think he
in
is.
general he's just not. It's not his strong point. I much prefer his quieter personal scenes between characters than this. Like mine was kind of Kip's, but I said like the cadence scene when he comes back with like Licanius and Rexview. I didn't think that was cool at all. I thought it was just so much less impactful than I you would expect for Cadius to just Caden to walk up with a sword and wreck all these people. I was just like, meh. I mean, I guess when they first see Caden, like the lone figure walking out when he arrives, it's cool. But after that, it was just like, I don't know.
Reminded me of Eye of
Everything
the
about
World.
that. There you go. But it just wasn't memorable. You think that would be like the big memorable finale. And in reality, what I think he's much better at is kind of twists and reveals, where the big memorable reveal or the finale is finding out about Caden. Um, so
yeah,
yeah, I'm definitely with you, Kip. That was kind of I just they don't really work for me. I was just waiting for it to end to be like, all right, you guys are obviously going to survive this. What happens next?
Yeah. I wasn't really looking to the battle scene because I was just like, well, the blind are just going to slaughter everyone because no one can touch
Yeah.
them.
well, yeah, you make a good point because this entire novel, all we get from all characters' point of views all over the place is that the blind are better than us. Like we haven't seen anything that the blind is in any way fallible or anything like that. There's no weaknesses so far. So
Nope.
we just assume that they're going to lose because they also have augurs saying, hey, they're going to get into the city. So we know we're going to lose. So we just took that for granted. So I felt like as readers, I think you make a good point that we just assumed that they were going to lose. So I just kind of didn't take as much
I
interest
just
in
assumed
the
both. I
battle.
assumed either there was just going to be like end with big slaughter, and the characters are going to have to, recover from that in the story, or like what happened, there'd be some ridiculous thing or last second thing that saves everyone. And I was like, all right, that's clearly only two options. I mean, like Mirlyah said, these guys are going to these people. There's been no other hints otherwise. So it just made it kind of less interesting. I was more interested about when Eloshian died, like, oh, what happened with me, or how the kids acting, like little character things. I'm like, oh, this all stuff is cool, like for the politics. I don't care about this evil that's happening, or even with Asha making deal, those weapons. But
And was anyone surprised by the echoes coming out of the military?
surprised how that
Like how they're
That
doing it or that
that
they
there
are doing
were echoes there, because I was not surprised. I was like, oh,
no.
these soldiers disappeared for days while training mysteriously with no explanation, and then they just pretended that they were perfectly fine, and nobody asked them, questioned them, examined them.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I
I,
see it just because it doesn't seem like this country is military competent.
Sure, but like our protagonists knew.
Oh, yeah, but they're also teenagers that are wrapped up in their own heads.
Yeah,
nobody,
So,
listens
And
to
I
Taylor.
don't think they.
Taris knew.
Yeah, but nobody
but
listens
he's
to him.
also mind
Everyone's like,
controlled. That
yeah,
guy's mind controlled. So I'm not sure either.
He
Okay.
is mind controlled in a way that doesn't make any changes.
Yeah, I know.
But did they really have that much contact with the soldiers?
That's true. They don't trust Terrace. Terrace
right.
is a murderer,
I
and they
don't
don't
think
like
they had
murderers.
any real personal contact with any of the soldiers, just the
Yeah,
generals.
and they only talked
Uh,
to the general for a little bit. He got wrecked.
Hayden did, but he was distracted by a pretty girl.
That's gonna segue into another one of my least favorite scenes.
Okay. Go ahead. What do you got?
Oh, no, are we all done? We can keep talking about that. I just brought it up.
Nah, I think we hit most of the parts for that.
Yep.
Did you want to
Yeah,
talk
I
about
guess.
Kara?
Yeah. Well, my one least favorite scene was Caden. Two Cadens. It was the big battle scene, but also just the romance with him and the girl. It's just not working for me. I don't know what to tell you. I don't buy it. They went on a few walks together. I feel like I'm Alric. I'm Alric out here. Like, what are you doing? This doesn't make sense. And yeah, I just don't think any of the romances in this story work. Definitely not
I mean,
Caden and Kara. Definitely not Asha, and definitely not Asha and Davia. And I'm
Oh,
telling you, I think
absolutely
there's more.
not.
I think there's more chemistry with Asha and Weir than Asha and Davia. Weir and the girl who's an archer.
Ezia.
I just don't.
Ezia.
Yeah, easy. I don't buy it. I don't. None of it. I could. So anytime they're hanging out or they have small talk, I'm just like, this isn't romantic. I don't. I'm not rooting for
Nope.
you guys. I'm sorry.
well,
I'm more
I
interested
mean,
in Caden's personal pain. Sorry, good, really.
I wonder if they were. I don't know. They probably were specifically written to be romantic, but I didn't like. Again, I read them as platonic friendship discussions and relationships
I'm
rather
like
than
ready to put
romantic.
money down on them getting married.
Well, yeah, he blushed. So definitely when the
well,
redheaded
well,
guy
yeah,
blushes, I'm thinking he
that's
likes
true.
her.
Well,
And
I mean, there's attraction there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that spending time with another person has to culminate in a romantic relationship. But I get, I get the point that this is probably just badly written romance, and
This is a fantasy book.
Yeah.
That's how it
Yeah.
works in these books. Well,
This is epic fantasy like tier romance that has been condensed into a trilogy. And epic fantasy is not generally known for good romance in general. So that condensed is like the insta love to end all insta loves.
All right.
I
So you think
grew up
we're
reading these. Oh,
or sorry.
go ahead.
Okay. So you think was it Kara and Caden are gonna get married?
I think Carrie and Caden are going to get married,
Okay.
or they're going to have a dramatic like, I love you, no, I love you, and then one of
No,
them commits
I
suicide or
hope
something.
not.
I don't know, like
Romeo and Juliet.
But Caden's just disappeared off into the follow his own path that he set out for himself, so I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think he's not going to be around to see Kara for quite a while
I mean, it's like
in this
Yet
timeline.
their love will endure, no matter how far apart they are. I'm sure.
we could have an Anakin and Padme story.
We could. Let's throw in some Star Wars with this Wheel of Time. I think that would be fun.
Well,
Back to the
there's like
Future,
one scene
Star
where
Wars, Wheel of Time.
they were just talking, and I think Alric came up on them, and their hands brushed, and that was supposed to be the big moment where like, oh, they're into each other. That's it. That's the signal. Their hands just brushed. And he's like, I hope Alric didn't see that. See what? Skin on knuckle contact?
My heart skips a beat when I'm around her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also, like, he tries to like fast track it. Like, it feels like you just spent a scene or like a page or two saying that they've been
It's
going
been
out
like
on walks.
3 days.
Right.
And it
So,
happened real quick. Like they were going on walks day 1, day 2 of knowing each other.
Day 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Wheel of Time has some of the worst relationships in human history. I believed them more than I believe this. From the start. I'm like,
You're
oh
not
yeah, I
wrong.
guess
Yeah, you're not
they're
wrong.
weird, but I guess they could be together. This one,
No, I think
it just looks like the author is trying to push something in my book. It's not so egregious. It just seems like this is a first time author being like, all right, I'm pairing up these two, without
Yes,
it feeling
absolutely.
natural.
Well, it's just a epic fantasy. Male epic fantasy writers just can't write romance.
That is what it is.
yes, that's
And they don't feel like they have to. Like they feel like it's just enough that someone ends up with someone, and you don't have to write any like actual romance between them. You just have to be like, yes, this pairing and this pairing and this pairing are canon.
just because it happens. That's just the way it's gonna go down. Yeah. So you get to see.
And then in epilogue, you
There
put in like a family tree, and you give some kids that are never on screen some names. There you go, done.
Mhm. All right. So I think we hit our least favorite scenes. I wanted to mix it up. So now let's get into our favorite scenes. All right. Yeti, why don't you kick us off? What do you got?
I have a couple. Which one will I pick? You know what? I'm going to pick. You talked about it a little bit, but I like the whole chapter called "The Impossible Tasks of Alaris Shar." So you said it was kind of like that fairy tale story or whatever
Yeah.
it was. I thought that was like one of the scenes that stuck in my head throughout, like even before rereading. I'm like, oh, I always remember that, and I just thought it was a cool story. It kind of tells of this guy who's given 3 tasks by was this god emperor or this new god or someone who steals his throne. He's like, hey, if you can do one of these 3 tasks, I'll let you have your country back, or your people, and you can be king again. And the 3 tasks were like, find someone who's like a worthy friend. Was that the second one? What was the first one?
So one is like a worthy friend. One is a worthy like
Subject.
successor.
A subject, yeah. And then one's like a worthy love of your life kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have as many years as you can to complete it. This guy obviously can live forever, so he can live hundreds of years and try. And I thought that just was a really interesting and kind of heartbreaking story, especially with how the end ends, where he just, he's too. Every time he fails, so he brings a loyal subject, and he is proven wrong that he's not loyal, and the person just automatically dies. And the same happens to his best friend that he brings. So when he finds someone he truly loves, like the love of his life, definitely knows this is the one. He's too scared to bring her up.
The best friend one really made me angry, actually.
Do you think you could pass these tests? Did you buy these? Like,
Is
the best
doing
friend,
what your
how did he
friend
get
asks
turned?
you to do the proof of being a friend?
I don't know. I was thinking that too. I was like, is that the first one? Definitely the subject. I felt like you got was
Subject,
legit.
yes, that one definitely rang true for me.
Apparently, the lesson of the gift of the Magi is that neither of them loved each other.
So the best friend, the offer was, he's like, hey, this is my best friend. I'll never find as good a friend. And the main god guy said, well, what if I give you the chance to live forever like Alaris? And,
Yep.
if you could just, even though Alaris doesn't want you to do it, as your friend, he said, this is not a good thing. It has its cons. And the guy still does it anyway. Well, I would love to live forever. And he gets killed. But so that's a test, him failing the test. You don't think
Yeah.
that's a good judgment?
I don't think that's a good judgment. I think that there's many reasons that you can not listen to your friends and do what they say, and that it doesn't make you less of a good friend.
Right.
Like, I think friends need to tell each other when they're being stupid or when they're saying something that doesn't make sense. And he never told his friend that, hey, this dude lies.
But this whole game is on interpretation. Like the
But it
whole
did
game
also
is
say that
interpretation.
it did also say that his friend, they had actually spoken about the whole living forever thing previously, and
Right.
they knew that they differed in
And
opinion.
and they knew they differed in opinion, but it was fine as long as the friend never tried to actually live forever. That doesn't sound like an equal friendship to me.
Right.
I think the friend had
I
the
was
right
thinking
idea here. It's his choice to make. It's his life.
Yeah.
Right. That shouldn't affect your friendship. Like that's not a barometer of
No.
how great friends you are just because, I don't know. Unless the guy was saying you're going to say yes to this, even knowing that your friend thinks this is bad for you. But yeah, I don't know. Like you said,
Like
Soul,
what
it's
if your
kind of
goal is
subjective.
to live forever so that your friend doesn't have to be alone anymore, and you're fine taking whatever personal torment that causes you? But you can
Right.
like
It's a
go
great
on and
friend.
on into that ad infinitum and say that like, oh well, knowing that you're doomed gives your friend more discomfort than being with you. That
Right. That's just
it
interpretation. He's trying to fit his way into making him fail the test, and
Yep.
he did. And then he used that, human nature of,
And he
was
didn't
being scared of.
argue. He didn't argue with the dude when he
He's like,
killed
that's
him for
fair.
that. Yeah, he was just like, oh no.
Yeah, that is true. He didn't argue. He was just like, you got me again. Lost another
So,
buddy.
yeah, it was a good one. So Kip, you would have appealed to a higher court, the Supreme Court, perhaps?
I mean, yeah. I would have said, oh well, last one, yeah, that was fair. That was a pretty clear, like, that was a pretty clear breach of the ruler subject relationship. Very clear. Friend, though, I don't think his decision was a breach of that.
Do you guys think if he would have brought his wife the third time, they would have passed? Or do you
No,
feel
he
I
like
would
th-
have
that's a
killed as well.
stupid
I think
loophole?
that's the mystery, but I think he would have killed him.
Yeah, he would have found a way to make him fail the test, no matter what. So I think
Yeah.
it's actually nice that this dude got such a long time with the love of his life.
Yep.
Well, I think so, but I took from it at the end it was kind of horrifying for him because she kind
Oh,
of
it
had to
was.
go to
Yeah.
her grave thinking that he didn't believe in their love. You know what I mean?
Right. And that is awful, but if he took her there, she definitely would have died.
She would have died.
Okay. So definitely she's goner. So this way at least she got to live the rest of her life with
That's true.
her husband.
What he should have done is just not revealed it
Yeah.
to her.
He shouldn't have said anything and be like,
Just
I'm
shouldn't
gonna
have said
try in the
anything.
next few
Yeah,
wives.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have like another 10 wives, and then maybe I'll have a basis for choosing the one I'm gonna test against.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that whole thing. And like Soul said earlier, I liked how Davian wasn't sure how to interpret who was Arcane Devade. Was it Alaris or was it the guy who? What is that? Was that a god person who just
Ganache,
had these
Kashan,
stupid
something.
requests? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a
I don't,
G something.
Yeah,
yeah, it was something with a
Jash.
G. There's an A
Jash.
in there.
Jash.
okay. Yeah,
Ghash.
yeah. Oh
See,
gosh.
that's why I
So,
don't remember it because I don't know how to say that.
uh, yeah, that was. I'm sure you guys have other scenes that are up there with my favorites too, but that one was one of the ones that definitely stuck with me.
Yeah, I like that. A favorite one of mine, besides the training montage, I did like when and Davian were changing the tenants. That was fun to see them like do the shield touch. I guess it's a shield that changes the tenants. It was cool. I just
Yep.
liked the imagery of that. It was fun. And
Yeah, I like that because there was a hint of doubt as to whether or not Davian would actually repeat exactly what were said word
There
for word.
was.
Yeah, word got real nervous there. But it paid off, and I like seeing all that. And buds sometimes listen to each other. Okay, Kip?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes they listen to each other and they do the right thing. And well, I mean, I don't know if it's the right thing, but they did their thing. They did what they planned. Proud of them. So it was good.
I
I like that.
They followed contractual law.
Mhm.
I like that you pointed that out. I think that was a subtle way of showing. I think everyone noticed in the story, the main characters, and obviously I'm sure we noticed that Davian has definitely changed since he came back from his 80s training montage.
Mhm.
And I think a little
Yeah.
everyone's kind of maybe not
Yeah, he
wary.
murders trees now.
Yeah. But even before, like right before that, yeah, when he just sucked all the life out of that person, when he could just suck essence out of a person, I think everyone's just like, okay, this Davian is definitely a different dude, clearly more powerful, but also him seeing other people's memories obviously changes him as a person too. It would seem, and I just
Yeah.
think they're like, oh,
Yep.
I think that's one of the reasons we are kind of. I don't think we would have hesitated pre-adventure friendship. He'd be like, yeah, this is my dude. Yeah, he'll say what I want. But now I think he's like, okay, I think there's, you know,
Yeah, because he only hung out with Davian for like what 30 minutes from when Davian showed up, and then the
and
war started, and then they had to start fighting, and then they ran immediately to do the tenants.
not to
So he
mention
really hasn't seen him.
he knows the background of what Davian actually did to those people, not terrorists. It wasn't terrorists that killed those people. It was
Yep.
Davian. So
Yeah,
he knows that. Davian doesn't even know that. So I don't know. So I think their best friendship is a little. It's still firm, but yeah. I think that was a nice point out that there is some subtle hesitance with him.
I mean, they right at the start of the book. I mean, they had their little fist fight after after Word
Brashada.
tricked Davian into.
After
Quick
impersonating a
punch.
relationship with Brashada.
yeah.
Ugh, risky move.
All right.
I got
What do you
really
got?
upset at Davian when he just went down and like murdered a line of trees. Just
Yeah,
like,
me
What?
too.
That's what got you? The
yep,
dude testing his new powers out on not people, which is what we
yeah.
didn't want him to do. Is like just don't do it to people or animals, please. And he just went to some trees, and that's what made you
You
angry.
apparently you can get essence from fires.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Like,
I'm assuming it's energy is what they're trying to like, right?
yeah, but
You're the
like
chemist. I
he
don't know.
barely does that. I'm the chemist, so I understand where magic comes from.
Well, based on what the clues of this is, yeah, I thought it was energy. So you would know more about that than me.
yeah, but like,
Don't kill the trees.
Do
The
do you think he
trees have
should
been living
start
for hundreds of
fires?
thousands of years.
I
Yeah,
think
should
he
he
should.
start fires instead of just taking the tree? Should he take the
Yeah,
time to be
I
like,
think
I'll
he
get
should be
more
like,
energy this
hey,
way?
bonfires, not killing ornamental trees in a city that took forever to put there. And we're specially shielded against essence rippers. Like,
Yeah.
no. Don't contribute to the desecration of sites of antiquity. Don't ruin them.
I mean, I did picture him as like in a starving desert. This dude was just like, all right, it's not an animal, it's not a person. I need to feel better so I can get out of this place. I got to do this.
I guess it was the only source of essence available to him, though.
Also, sunlight.
Yeah, but it sucks. Like in the city, I don't think he was just gonna sit there and hope he gets enough sunlight for, a month or two before he can
But
walk
if
out of the
this,
city.
I
He
mean,
wasn't
the
there for a
city
month
was
or two.
misty.
He would have been if he didn't do any, if he didn't take any essence.
The city was misty, so there probably wouldn't have been a lot of sunlight for him to take.
Aha. See, she's got a great point. Okay. Yeah. Get out of here.
I think he could have gotten out of the city faster. Like he was like, yeah, I'm hungry, but I'm not dying.
Well,
And
it specifically says he did not think he could make it out of the city without taking essence from anything. Like he didn't think he could even walk
yeah, but
that
then he
far.
like topped himself back up to 100%. Don't do that. You can make it out of the city on fumes. It's fine. That is the sacrifice you need to make for trees.
Nah, I think it's fine. There's plenty of trees everywhere.
No,
We can plant. Okay,
these are
we have time
specially
travel.
planted
We can
trees that
plant
were
trees whenever, and
insulated.
this is time travel in this world. Okay, we can plant trees in the past and then enjoy them in the future. We really got to go down this road. Okay.
There is no light or living things in this city other than these trees.
He's the
Think
one who
about how
probably planted those
bad.
trees to begin with, okay? He was the one he put the trees there, so they're his trees, all right? These
Baby
are
made that
Davian's
lettuce. Okay.
trees because he knew he would need to steal from them, so he put
Baby,
them there years ago.
baby and the builder.
Yeah,
Yes.
Baby and the Builder, okay? That's what happened. That's my headcanon now. Okay, you're welcome. All right, let's move on away from that part at least. um, does anybody else have a favorite scene they want to get to?
I liked Caden's memory of his training, of that final
The
portion of his training.
the Dragonborn, the like snake
Yeah,
lizardy people. Yeah, it
yeah.
was kind of
That
cool.
was fun.
I liked
What
how
part
it
was that?
hinted.
Refresh it. Why don't I
So it was
remember
as
that?
Talcamar learning when he was beyond the boundary. He was, I think it was beyond the boundary, right? Where he was training with the lizardy people way
Hmm.
back when as Talcamar. I was Caden
And he
getting that
basically
memory
had to
again.
kill his trainer or the person he was versing in order to
Yeah,
complete
because they reborn
his
themselves
training.
as
Oh,
dragon
right,
people.
right. Oh, yeah, that was cool.
And he didn't want to kill his buddy because he actually cared for him. And his buddy's like, no, you got to kill me to successfully
Oh,
pass
right.
your training.
Well, that's why I brought it up.
Very weird ritual there. Very weird ritual.
Well, that's why I brought up like them not dying. They can be killed, but he comes back, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that is a thing that is known that
Ooh.
happens to people in this world.
Well,
Ooh.
to at least one race of people.
To the
Yes.
one race.
The one-
So maybe Talcamar was originally that race. Okay. I see it. Okay. So he's not human.
Yeah,
Which
I mean,
fits the not
he
human.
didn't seem to have a large understanding of their rebirth rituals. He seemed very much an outsider in that society.
But he's already been known to erase his memory, so that doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, he did it. He's known to erase his memory once.
As far as he knows, yeah. So yeah,
And
I think he's done it before.
whoever the dude was around Licanius was like, "This is new. This is new for you."
And he was described as being the human in this Serpentine settlement.
Yes, he was.
So
Yeah,
not
but he's been
necessarily
described
of the
as
same
not
race as
human
them.
and a few other places.
That doesn't mean he's
I am waiting
skeleton.
for the final tally of non-human races at the
Okay.
end of this.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll put a pin on that for other discussions. I'm sure in book 2 and 3 we'll get into more of it. All right. Actually, what else do we have?
wait, can I pick one scene real quick? I think Mirlyah brought it up before, but yeah, I just want to say again the scene of seeing Mirlyah when Davian went into what's his face's mind, Malshash's, and the
Yep.
scene with
Okay.
his wife.
Yeah.
That is a scene too that I've never forgotten for multiple reasons. I'll just say, but that I love that scene uh, and just finding out, and it was just kind of the rampage he goes on afterwards when
Yeah.
his wife dies. I honestly
That-
felt like that relationship's the best romance I've seen, and we barely even know anything about her, but just his passion. I was like, I can get behind this couple. He's gone nuts.
Do you think Malshash created Delanus? Or like
No,
well, I'd say created, but turned it into the city devoid of essence that it is now.
not
No,
alone.
I think he's like the self-imposed watcher of it for a reason. Like I feel like we're gonna get more of why he decided to go there specifically, but I don't think he's just using it to deal with his drama.
I'm just wondering whether what happened, what came of the village that he destroyed in an attempt to raise his wife from the dead.
Yeah,
I don't know. They
Not
gave it
sure.
another name, and I'm sure someone's going to mention it at some point. But
another
as an
Eye of the
Easter
World
egg,
trope.
That could be. It could be. Yeah, I think that'll be our Rappo one.
there's a lot of names of places in this book that just have no further references that I'm assuming are going to come back later.
Yeah. Yeah, I stopped going back to the map after like the second half because I was like, all right, you just said a place. I do not see it in here. I'm just gonna keep moving on.
Yeah, I never expected a lot of these names to appear on that map.
But
Map is very basic.
anything that's mentioned in here that isn't specific, I'm assuming is past the boundary. So
Yeah, I'd love to know the relative size beyond the boundary.
yeah. Yet he's doing weird motions in the camera, trying
I
not to
think it's
spoil
just the
anything.
bad. Yeah, sorry, I did a hand motion like, oh well. I just think his world building it's good, but it's also bad. If as the worst way to put it, it's just sometimes it's good, and then there's sometimes it's just like you're just throwing random places at us, and like
Yep.
you
Yep.
and it'd be different if you threw random places at us in like a 10-book series, heck, even a 6-book series. But this is just a trilogy. I don't, unless you're gonna rush through every one of these cities, these places. But
Yeah, good concepts. I like it.
yeah.
Needs a little work on the execution, but like you said, I think this was his first book, so I'm willing to give him, some grace on that.
And there's very little that comes up that you're not. There's very little that comes up and happens, and that you like forget about it before the thing that it's foreshadowing happens.
That's part of his reveal, like within the next 50 pages of whatever you just guessed is going on. It's just
Or it's like
constantly
so
that.
obvious that it's like stick a pin in this because it's going to come up later next book.
Yeah.
I assume.
Yeah.
Because it definitely happened within this book.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair.
Every little character development comes back up. It's like there's a steady, continual progression of elements being brought back, especially around the magic system.
Well, I'm interested to see how he handles book 2 like that. And then I guess
Yes.
book 3 as well, but mostly just book
Yes.
2 because it's
Book 3.
we've had so many reveals.
We'll see what's going on there.
Yeah. I'm just expecting book 3 to just be a climax. Just the entire thing is just like, reveal, one long reveal, and then another reveal at the
By
end.
book 3, do you think you're going to understand every name in the prologue?
No.
Say the
No.
reason I'm so excited that you guys are reading it and like I can be honest with you is because at the end I want to know if you guys are gonna be like, oh yeah, that all made sense. Well, I know there's gonna be certain. I think there's one aspect that like definitely pulls together, but there's other stuff where I'm like, you guys have better memories than me. You'll be like, that just didn't. That's not making any sense. So
Yeah, I think Kip's gonna have to be our memory master for this one, but
Oh no, come on, it's my first time.
whoa, it's my first time too. Normally I would have finished the entire series by now, but I'm taking it real slow so we can do this recording together.
This
So
is Yeti's job.
I'm
Sorry.
not gonna I remember.
Don't have the mind
Yeah.
for it.
All right. What do we got? Predictions. Mirlyah, why don't you start us off? Do you have something specific you want to get into? What do you think? I know it's kind of tough.
I mean, I think I brought it up a little bit earlier, which is how many times has Talcamar time traveled? How many instances of himself are we going to encounter?
Well, okay, so then I have a question for you then. Do you think Talcamar, because we know he's time traveled a lot, or we're assuming that, do you think he's time traveled to the same time period at the
I
same
think so,
time? So you
because
think like
I
there's two versions of him?
I get the impression that everything that's happening in this war right now is the result of Arcane Devade, and he's coming to stop himself.
So you think he's already in this timeline, but then he's also in Caden's body as like maybe let's say he's in the future as Talcamar, turned himself into Caden, and now he's with Arcane Divide at the same time. So same person in two bodies at the same period of time. That's what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with that. Yeah, because I think he's definitely the guy that messes up the timeline. If that's even an issue in this world, I think he's that guy.
I think Davian is going to be the one who messes up the timeline the most.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's hinting that, but he's the one who's trying to fix it, and Davian has to fix the timeline.
I mean, given that
Okay.
Davian was in shackles, I feel like he's probably going to do something to mess up the timeline.
I mean, they gotta keep it interesting. They gotta keep it spicy. So they definitely gotta mess things up. Like I don't think they're gonna fix anything until the end of book 3.
The most questionable decision that Davian made at the end of this book was attacking Talcamar.
Yeah, that wasn't smart.
And that makes me think that there's going to be more bad blood between them before anything gets cleared up.
That was one of my like favorite scenes, was seeing like power like Caden was, even like, oh wow, this dude is just ridiculously full. I thought I was powerful.
And then Davian saying, "Oh well, might as well try."
yeah, he's like, good try. Wasn't pissed. He was like, yeah.
You got any other ones, Mirlyah?
I want to know. It's not really a prediction, but I want to know how Terrace and the other guy, Layman, the king's advisor.
Okay.
In their scene that they had when they were talking and Asha was spying on them. I just want to know how much they actually know. Like, what do they know? Because they clearly know something.
Who
And
used to have a different name.
they've obviously lived different lives because they've got different names, or at least one of them has a different name that they've gone
Yeah,
by.
definitely a different name. I don't know. I thought maybe it'd be like somewhat involved with the Signari or something like that, or maybe they have some kind of plot politics stuff going with that.
I'm also assuming they were involved with the Signari.
Yeah,
And
because I mean, that was hinted. We already have another love interest for Davian with them, so I know they're coming back in a big way in book 2.
Yeah, how
So,
many girls are going to be put in front of Bavian?
hold on though. I think this is my prediction. Prashada is actually going to be with Wur. That was the love interest for Wur.
Oh yeah?
So, yep, that's
Okay.
mine.
Okay.
Because just as much character development with those two as anyone else so far.
They like barely interacted.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah. I could see the sparks fly immediately. No, I think
I mean,
they
if we're
will.
talking about sparks flying, we're Indesia's brother.
Ulrich.
Ulrich, yeah.
Nah, I think
I
Prashada.
don't see that happening at all, for the record.
No,
But
no. I know you're
sparks
messing.
flew.
Yeah. Yeah. Sparks of rage and anger. Yeah,
Sparks from swords.
yeah.
and obviously we need, because Davian needs to travel back into the past to before he met Malshash, surely, to give him the ring.
Yes. So
Yes.
whether Malshash is originally from that time or not, maybe Malshash is like being born now. He could be a character that's like right now.
Well, Malshash expressed the inability to travel through the Javet,
Oh, okay. I forgot that.
or rather, inability to survive the travel.
Okay. So then we know he's stagnant in his time.
Yeah.
Well, I
So I
mean,
wonder how far back he goes.
I want to meet the Ath.
the Ath,
Yeah.
which remind me, what is the Ath?
Who Malshash stole shapeshifting from.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Possibly
It's a
some
she.
godlike being.
Yeah, because also gave the power to, was it Reed? Is that what it was? Or
Possibly.
C? It was
To
C.
see.
To
To see.
C. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It sounds like a snake, but that's just because it's called the Af.
Yeah, it could be. I'm getting like Cathay vibes from like King Killer and all that stuff, where it's like all about giving them the power to see but not influence. So that's why he took the shape shifting.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a good one. What else we got?
What else?
For all the listeners out there, Yeti did turn off his camera while we're all scratching our chins thinking of crazy stuff. He doesn't want to
I'll
spoil
give no
anything.
clues. My face.
Yeah.
How long do we think the king is going to be around for?
Oh, he's got to die in this book.
He's
Like
got to die in the next
he's
book,
got to
right?
die in this book because
He's
Wur's
got to
definitely got
die.
to take the place of the king and the North Warden to really
Well,
be that
is
like
it
power
because
hungry person.
What's going to happen to
Kara?
Kara?
But Kara's
Yeah. Kara's going to be
heir.
queen.
No, she dies.
She dies.
She dies
No,
book
she dies
2.
in book 3. She dies in book 3.
No, I feel like that's too obvious. I'm thinking book 2, end of book 2.
Oh, right, because we got to compress this.
We
So
gotta compress it.
Oh, but she can't
And
die because
she's
it's
gonna have a book 2.
okay,
She
here's a
can't die
prediction.
because Caden's in love with her, and
I know
Caden is just
Caden
all
kills her.
powerful.
Caden kills
Caden's
her
gonna go
in book
back in
2 on
time.
accident. Caden kills her on accident in book 2 finale. That's my final prediction for Caden and Kara.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he already knows he can kill people if they like he would only do it if he really needs to. And I feel like he's gonna accidentally or he has to kill Kara for some reason. So he will. This book. Book 2.
I
Yeah.
really hope the Dokens come back. Those like hidden dream shard places.
Yeah.
Those didn't do anything for me.
Virtual meeting rooms. Yeah, but I want to see a character lose their mind in one of them. I want to see them like
Okay.
trap themselves in a fantasy that they have to be rescued from. I don't think it's going to happen because I think that would take too much time and I don't trust Islington to do that, but I think it would be fun.
Yeah, I could see that being interesting. I don't. I'm not sure. I don't think he's going to spend that much time. We don't even really get that much time spent on like essence and stuff like that. So I don't
I
think
think
he's
it
going
would
to go
be. I
into
think
that.
it would be more likely that like a quest giver or item haver would have secluded themselves into one, and a protagonist has to like break them out.
Mm. Which protagonist?
Bavian.
Okay. Yeah, I'm down for a baby and side plot into a rescue situation. Interesting. Okay.
Into a rescue from a dream world. Yeah.
Yeah. Little Telerain Riyadh. Yeah. Okay.
Do we
Um,
think Eran, and the other chick, forgotten her name?
was it Felsi? No, that's
Fessa.
Fessa.
Fessy.
Someone with
Do
an
we
F.
Fessy.
do
Fessy.
we think they will come back?
Yeah, TollShen.
I think they're gonna fight the
Because did
Signari.
they say they were going to Tolshan? I thought they were just going to disappear.
They did not say they were going to TollShen, but I think they're going to make their way there anyways.
Yeah, I think they're gonna fight the Signari while Davian's on that side, and then cause some Asha romantic rocky relationship issues. Yeah.
Toll Athian is horrible at politics, by the way.
Yeah, it's not the
Like,
best.
like they just they confessed with no discernible reason that yeah, we wouldn't have actually recited the tenets back the way that he wanted us to.
Yeah, they're like, nah, we would
No,
never
we
do
wouldn't
that.
have
We would
done
do
that.
exactly what we want. It's like, oh, okay. Glad we never trusted you. We'll never trust you again, also. But I mean, they knew. I mean, yeah, they're bad at politics, but they just don't care because they know they all hate each other. Like they know they weren't ever going to be in that position. I don't think so.
Yeah, but that's it. Like I don't know if you're sorry, I want to go on an All Stars tangent here, on a Drag Race All Stars tangent. Like, if you didn't have to
Please
send a
do.
queen home, you don't have to tell the queen who remained, like, yeah, I would have sent you home. You don't have to do that. That's just an easy way to get enmity from someone.
I mean, we're not supposed to like these people. So, and I
But
think they
we
know
are
that.
supposed to think they're smart.
Are we?
We're supposed to think that they are politicians of some caliber.
No, I think we're supposed to think they're brainwashing the children into thinking they're the powerful politicians, while the Tol Shen or whatever is supposed to be the bad, quote, bad guys, and they're really just all the same.
I think that that is indeed what Tolshen wants you to think, but
Ah, okay. Insulting me, Kyptan. Got it. Okay. No,
I'll
it's
be
fine.
honest, I got a little bit confused between all the different titles, and I just lost track of who was who.
But
Well,
you would assume that any leader of a toll would be at least mildly diplomatic.
no, this is why I don't like politics in books. This drives me nuts. So Tol Shen is bad, but not really bad. Tol Athian is supposed to be good, but is
Incompetent?
actually bad.
Okay.
Yeah,
I feel like
they're just kind of
everyone's
like neutral.
incompetent though. That's why it's
Yeah,
believable, except the people who are brainwashed
yeah.
or like taken over. That's why I'm like Aaron. Aaron compared to everyone's like a genius, a political genius. He's getting all this stuff done.
He's controlling the Northward. I like Aaron.
Yeah,
Aaron's the
yeah,
best.
me too. But he's the only one who seems like smart.
I know.
But
I know. It's a little unbelievable, but that's okay. I'm here for the fights, and also the sword. That
ooh.
was cool. I like seeing him pick up Licanius. I forgot to
I
mention
still
that.
have absolutely no idea what Lycanius does.
I
But
don't think
that's
we're
fine.
supposed to know. I
We're
think
not
it's just
supposed to.
supposed to
It's fine.
be the object that just
Yep.
makes you more powerful and bends the
all, we,
universe around it. It just looks so cool.
all we
The
know is
sword
it's
that is more
named.
than a sword.
The trilogy is named after it.
Yeah. So, all right, am I the crazy one? We can end it with that. When I read this, for some reason, I pictured inside the volcano, the people themselves, the dude he gets the sword from, is a volcano-y kind of person.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm not crazy. I was picturing like this dude somehow was made of a volcano-ish, kind of like he has volcanic
No, I
features.
got strong like fire genasi vibes from that dude.
Exactly. Okay. So I didn't know if I was completely crazy or if I just threw that in there and I was just reading really fast. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I missed it, but yeah, that like when you first said that, I was like, what? Then I had to go back and reread it, and I see it now. Yeah.
Yeah, I said it
Yeah.
a little bit of a weird way, so I'm glad I didn't Get it wrong and confuse
Hottest
everybody.
guy in the dude since Bavian.
Oh yeah, temperature-wise, he's way.
Hottest guy in the book since
Yeah.
Bavian.
Yeah, Kelvin. He looks good, I think.
Well, it does say that his skin glowed a smoldering, writhing red,
Yeah.
and
That
his
sounds
hair
pretty
and
hot.
clothes his hair and clothes appeared made of strands of lava.
That's
So
pretty cool.
what do you think? Like 3000 C?
You're the chemist. I have no idea how hot lava is on the temperature scale, and then what that would correspond to if you translate that into like a human body. So I have no idea.
I know
We're just gonna go
Fahrenheit's
real
are.
hot. Yeah, he's a Fahrenheit guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get in some crazy conversion ratios here.
Can I do favorite quote real quick since I didn't have
Yeah,
a
hit us
prediction?
in right before we wrap it up. What's up? What do you
I
got?
liked. There wasn't many, I guess, but I did like when Davian was leaving Malshash. Malshash was like, "I have something I need you to remember. A message from me." He said that it was worth it. It changed me, and I am so very sorry. And then Davian's like, "What? Who's it? Who's the message for?" Malshash says, "It's for you, Davian." He's like, "You'll understand one day," he said softly. No, I thought that was another twist in the what the heck's that? Yeah, that's why I was wondering if you guys had any just thought, when predictions like thoughts on Malshash for him to say that as Davian's leaving, a message for Davian just was
I think
Yeah.
very
maybe Davian was a good person until he got Malshash's memory, and then that just wiped out all thoughts about killing people for their essence.
I think it has to do with Davian deciding or making the decision to come back into the past to actually give Malshash his ring and be there for Davian to arrive in this, time traveling.
Malshas has more to play. I mean, obviously, I think we're going to get to see this scene because they just, with that quote alone, I think we're guaranteed to see it. Hopefully in book 2, but probably book 3.
Yeah, in book 3, the fog is going to rise from Dilantis, and we're going to see a line of streets without trees in them when the rest of the city looks perfectly green.
Yeah, and they're just going to see it carved in there, so like, hate Davian, Kip. That's just going to say right there. Can't believe you've done this. He's just so angry.
And the second book is called An Echo of Things to Come. So I don't know if echoes
Oh,
play a
okay,
big
so
part.
more
That one's
more
a bit-
echoes killing people. Hopefully Wur learned his lesson.
That was such a dumb scene. He's an idiot.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
He's
he is
so
an
dumb.
idiot.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I think that's the one that got one universal reaction where everybody got to that scene and was like, "Yeah, where's an idiot?" in the group chat. It's just everybody was like, "Where's an idiot?" Yep, we at that scene. Yeah. Mirlyah, Kip, do you guys have any quotes? I forgot to write it down, so I don't have
don't
I
it.
have
forgot
any
to write any
quotes.
down.
No.
I just came across one though, but I quite liked the little lore around who can take Licanius, and it was he who comes to take Licanius shall be refused her.
Yeah.
And because Caden was there not to take Licanius because he didn't even know about Licanius, he wanted to help his friends, so he got to take Licanius.
Yeah.
So did he plan for that when he erased his memories? He's like, hopefully I'm gonna, just want to help my friends. I'm gonna meet some cool people out there. They're gonna want to
100%. Yeah.
Fire
It's like-
Genasi dude did have my favorite dialogue from this part of the book, for sure.
Yeah. I mentioned in the first half of the book the Nime or Nahim guy, how
yeah,
everything he said
Nahim.
for like a page and a half, Nahim,
Yeah.
was quoted, and you hate that setting.
Yeah.
I did keep it on. I almost took it off. I was like, I like this just to see. And also the Fire Genasi guy. Yeah. Pretty much everything he said was just like, quote, 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 quote. I'm like, yeah, we're getting into the good stuff here. Everybody seems to like these.
It was very clear that he'd been waiting to write that scene for a while. Like that was a scene that was pivotal to his plans. And
Well, a lot of authors,
showed.
especially when they're new, write these scenes and then
Yep.
they just fill out everything to get there. And
Yep.
that's
Right.
what these scenes were. So
Yeah.
I don't
definitely
dislike that. I like that.
we'll save it till the last episode. But I definitely think this author had a certain idea and a very slim idea and wrote a whole trilogy around it.
I mean, there was
Yeah.
enough prophetic dreams about it that he better have.
Or maybe they were all
So-
red herrings.
I just thought of something. I was just thinking the the message that Bavian told Asher to give to the Shadrahin,
Mhm.
that Talcamar is taking Licanius to the wells.
Yep.
Well, he's at the wells and he's got Licanius. What do you think it means?
Well, he's at one set of wells. There are multiple.
Okay, so now we're at a yeah. We just lost Yeti's picture, so he doesn't spawn anything. Like you said, there's multiple wells. What if he has to do like a race or kind of like a Hogwarts thing where you got to get to all the wells? If you unlock it with Licanius and it does something
Hamiltonian
like,
network.
yeah, it could be like that's how they created the boundary or that's how they removed the boundary.
The traveling Talcamar problem.
Yeah. I mean, the way the speed of this novel goes, I could definitely see him being like, all right, first third of this book, okay, boom, we hit this well, boom, we hit the second well in half. At the finale, we hit another well. And then the third book, we finish up the rest of them all in a couple pages and then be like, bam, the boundary's gone or something.
I mean,
Or
what do you
there's a
think?
new boundary in the middle of the country and it just destroys everything.
What do you think happens if he releases people with skin the temperature of molten lava across the surface of the Earth? What happens there? How do they compete with humanity?
Well, let's see. He has to because he's got a year to do it. So they're definitely coming. So I think the Kelvin people are just going to be like, maybe that's the thing. He's got to get like Licanius and make a new boundary around the volcano people so that they can have their space outside the volcano, but yet not completely kill everybody because that's just going to be the scorched earth area.
That
Yeah.
seems optimistic.
Well, I think that's what they're going to try to do. I don't think that's what's going to happen. So, I don't know. We got a lot of power play people in here. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. All right, Yeti's back. So let's end this. Our predictions are getting a little wild. I apologize for that. Did anybody have any last things before we wrap up finally? For real. I'm gonna wrap it up, I promise.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll wrap up. No more discussion. I just want to plug, and I don't think you guys will care, but Inking Out Loud is also going to be covering this series. I think we should do a plug for them because I'm excited. I know I'm excited to hear Drew talk about this series. So, and I'm sure he'll dive
Ooh.
into it maybe a little more critically than we are.
Oh yeah, he's
And just
gonna
the
make he
writing.
might
He's
make
a
me
Wheel of
cry.
Time guy, so I think so. Yeah, so just also if you like the series,
He's not
and
going
you
to be
like
as
listening,
tentative about spoilers as we are.
No.
uh,
He's
so
He
yeah,
also
definitely check out.
sorry, he also probably won't be as tentative about ripping it to shreds.
oh
No.
no, he's gonna be a lot meaner than we are, I think. But
Yeah,
I
good.
think he's gonna enjoy a lot of how the
I'm waiting
influences
for
he
him to
took, at
say
least.
rip off Ishmael.
Yeah, he will. He will. Yeah. The Forgotten, definitely.
So yeah, I just wanted a quick plug for them. So I think that'll be
No. That's a good point, and I'm curious what he thinks of the Dark One and the reveal of Caden at this end here
yeah, me
being the Dark
too.
One. So
Caden's the dark one.
yeah, but Rand was never the Dark One too. Spoilers
No.
for Wheel of Time.
Spoilers for the Great Hunt.
Yeah, the Great Hunt. Like we're only like
Yeah.
one or two books in this 13 book series for Wheel of Time. But yeah, I'm curious now that I know Inking Out Loud. I'll have to definitely check out their episodes. I want to see what Drew and Nolan have to say, or whoever is covering with them. Okay, that's gonna do it. Thank you, everyone, if you made it this far. We had quite a few predictions. I'm sure we lost probably most of you when we started getting into those, but if you made it this far, thank you. I want to thank everybody that started the Green Team podcast. I want to thank Craig from the main Legendarian podcast and everybody on there for starting this whole thing and giving us an opportunity to talk about books that they may not get around to doing. And I want to thank you, Kip, Mirlyah, and Yettibeats. Why don't you say goodbye?
See ya.
Bye.
All right.
Adios.
There you go. So why don't you all have a nice drive or evening or whatever you guys are doing, and we will see you next time for the Echo of Things to Come, Licanius Part 2. Thank you. Have a nice day. Also, a quick stealth edit. The music is Galactic Damages by Jinglebox.